I don't know if you guys saw this story on the Pac-12. This is awkward now. This is awkward. We were originally going to start the show ripping Jackson Mahomes, the brother of Patrick Mahomes, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We have
later
3 hours,
in the program.
Yeah, to crush Patrick Mahomes' brother, who's an idiot. But anyway, the point is, this whole thing with the Pac-12 is now starting to get awkward. I don't know if you guys saw this today. Out of nowhere, in a holiday week, such as my birthday week.
Such as in like.
I think this feels like late night Friday night. Everybody knows that at the Pac-12 that my quinceañera is coming up on the weekend. So everybody's celebrating my birthday. So, of course, today, of all days, Kliavkoff and the Pac-12 chose to mention this statement right here today. How awkward is this?
Yeah.
We know that the Pac-12 is in straits, but look at this statement released by the Pac-12 today. The 10 Pac-12 universities look forward to consummating successful media rights deals in the very near future.
Right.
Based upon positive conversations with multiple potential media rights payers, Freudian slip, over the past couple of weeks, we remain highly confident in our future growth and success as a conference and united in our commitment to one another. In other words, we've talked about getting a divorce. We're just not sure how it's all going to work out financially and who's paying for the attorneys.
Right.
I mean, we've kind of figured out how we're going to handle all the kids and the custody battle, but we're not sure divorce pending.
Right.
That's what this feels like to me when you read this statement. I mean, I look at this, Jake, and the only thing that I can come up with is that the Pac-12, I think, is in a death spiral, and I don't think they know how to get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, this just feels like, hey, we need to put out a statement to say that everything is fine, even though everything is not fine. It is the classic house is burning down, put up the smoke screen, stuff like that's the behavior we're talking about here. And I think, we've, as you know, for all of you who listen every day and are with us every single day, that we talk about this all the time. And add this to the list of things that the Pac-12 and George Kliavkoff have done to put up this narrative that the conference is healthy and in a good place, even though it's not. And we know it's not, because if it was, you'd already have a media rights deal. If it was, you wouldn't feel the need to put out it's fine statements. You wouldn't feel the need to do press conferences where you talk about back of the envelope calculations, only to 2 weeks later have a graph come out from whoever it was, maybe it was Nielsen or one of the research companies, comes out with this graph that says, hey, actually George was wrong and he was lying. Students actually do in fact want to be part of the Big Ten.
Yeah, that was George Kliavkoff saying, hey, I haven't talked to any students, not a single one, and it's safe to say I've talked to hundreds who want, UCLA and USC to leave. And then the survey comes out of UCLA students who overwhelmingly said, oh yeah, we want to be in the same conference as USC. Yes, we want to go to the Big Ten. This is desperation now from the Pac-10. And the thing that worries me here is the Utah Utes are still in the Pac-10. And the thing that concerns me most is this overwhelming underappreciation of what Utah athletics is, specifically Utah football. I think in gymnastics, everybody knows what the Red Rocks are, right? I think, yes, obviously the running Utes have been wildly underperforming for several years. This Utah football program has carried the mail for the U for a decade, and I don't think anybody knows that. And I think a lot of it is because the Pac-10 is so dysfunctional. And I think Larry Scott obviously was a disaster for this conference. But tell me now today that with any kind of confidence, any of us can say that George Kliavkoff is any better of a commissioner than Larry Scott was. Because frankly, Jake, I don't think I can say that.
Well, what more has he done? I mean, literally look at the situation. I mean, really, quite literally, the only difference between Kliavkoff's time and Scott's time is that now Pac-12 offices are not in San Francisco. We've moved offices to save some money, because our conference is burning into the ground. That's been the major difference. And I think, not to be overly negative, but another major difference, obviously, is USC and UCLA choosing to leave. They chose to leave now. They didn't choose to leave in Scottsdale. So to me, it's like you're going the wrong direction here. And we talk so often about, expansion and San Diego State and SMU, and, a lot of the fans and the commenters on the channel, want to bring up Fresno State. And it's like, dude, like they can add these schools. But my opinion now is that even if you were to add SMU, even if you were to add San Diego State, hell, even if you went and added Fresno State, I still don't think that's enough to get you $40 or $50 million or even a media deal on par with other conferences. And that's the problem. I look at this statement, and one small tidbit of this statement I think is interesting. It does say the 10 remaining schools in the Pac-12. So they're clearly going with the Pac-12 branding.
Yes.
We haven't seen the Pac-10 change yet. So the Pac-12, I'm going to call it that until they change it. The Pac-12 is in a position where even if you add the available schools that are out in the marketplace, I still don't think that that is going to save you. And I don't know. It almost feels like the next, wrecking ball for the conference is, this Oregon, Washington, leaving narrative. I mean, we've been hearing about it for 6-8 months now. It's been a while. Like, I would expect an update at some point. And I think this, Oklahoma and Texas leaving thing kind of throws, or sort of accelerates that. I feel like it almost says, hey, okay, this got taken care of. This issue's gone now. We've got this, resolution here. Now we can look at, okay, does San Diego State want to join here? Or maybe does Oregon want to leave there? Like, it just feels like we're accelerating now. And I don't know what George can do about that. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I think I look at this comment from Donnell Smith, who says, so do you think it'd be wise for Utah to walk away from $300 million, what they're getting for research for being in the PAC? I actually don't believe that it's $300 million they're getting from the PAC for being in research. And second of all, I also think, from what I understand, what I've been told, it doesn't mean that they're going to lose that money. That's not what that means. And obviously, when you have a powerful group of institutions that are together academically, that's not going to change. The thing that changes is your athletic department. And the most difficult part of this is you're in a rock and a hard place. There's nobody that is certifying Utah as a research institution of the highest order that's going to say, oh, well, now they play football in the Big 12. We got to pull that certification. Mm-hmm. There is negotiating to be done on that, because I guarantee you, and again, I'll just go on what I've been told because that's what I know. They're not walking away from anything. And that $300 million, Utah on its own is not getting $300 million per se. I believe that's the increase in money that's come through research. Now, I could be wrong on that. I'm not stating that as fact, but I'm pretty sure that's what that is.
Sure.
But my point is, I don't believe that it's the death knell for research funding that everybody makes this out to be. I think Utah is one of the finest educational institutions in the entire country. And sure, you can talk about the Ivy League or whatever you want. There's no arguing that Utah is a fine institution for higher learning. No doubt about that. Nobody's pulling research funds because all of a sudden you have a game every other year in Stillwater.
Right.
That's not happening. So I think this panic button that we all want to go to when it comes to the Pac-12, I think is overstated. I think that it's what you always say about USC and UCLA.
Right.
I don't know how to break this to you. Nobody's showing up with moving vans and picking up the Coliseum and trailering it out to the Midwest.
Yeah, they're not putting it on a long-ass semi-flatbed and taking Rice Eccles out to Nebraska. Like, that's not happening, And I know that sounds like tongue-in-cheek or like joking, but I think to a lot of fans, like to a lot of just common observers of this conversation and, college football overall, I think a lot of people hear this and are like, oh, like they're going to move, like they're going to go across the country and change locations. And it's like, no, this is a paperwork, not physical thing. Like, it's much more of a, hey, where is your advertising money coming from? What does a TV deal look like? Obviously, right. The most notable thing is scheduling. Like, there are a lot of those things that aren't tangible, if you will. They're just these things that we go by that change. But what I'm simply saying is that this whole thing with the Pac-12 and putting out these random statements and George Kliavkoff saying the things that he said over the past however long it's been, year at this point, I think it's been so far. Like, you can't continue to just do stuff because you think, hey, like, we need to put out a statement to say everything's fine because we're feeling pressure.
But again, I think this goes back to what we've been reporting for several months now, that the Pac-12 is in trouble financially. I mean, they are capped right now, from what our sources have told us in the TV industry. The Pac-12 is capped at $25 million a year for 7 years. That's the money they've been able to get. And I've been talking to people at ESPN over the last week or so who have said, hey, we're in for $10 million a year. That's it. Because ESPN doesn't need the programming. They want the programming. They don't need it. So if they don't get it all, hey, they're going to be fine, right? You look at what that means. If you're paying $10 million a year per, to each school, essentially, as it was explained to me, that's $100 million a year. That's between $500 and $700 million. That's it. That's all that they're willing to do over the life of that agreement. That's not a lot of money. That is a very little bit of money. And if you look at what we've been told that Amazon's willing to do, Amazon is willing to be their tier one partner, but with the combination of Amazon and ESPN, they haven't yet found a financial formula to break their $25 million mark. And at $25 million per year per school, that's just a non-starter.
That's a problem.
That's a huge problem, man. Like, you're talking about the total value of that deal being pennies to what the Big Ten has. Pennies, like you're not near what the Big 12 got at $31 million a year at a starting point. You're not even in the conversation of that. And I don't see how, if you are, and again, I'll go back to San Diego State. If you're San Diego State, how do you join the conference for just about the same money you're making now? Because you're not going to come in as a full share from what we've been told. It's just a disaster. And now you have this statement being put out today by the Pac-12 where they're saying, hey, the 10 members are united and we're going to have a TV deal soon. Well, what does that mean?
Well, what I think it means is that like, it means one of two things. Because again, the other piece of this conversation we've talked so much about is that the 10 members, philosophically speaking, are on different pages about what a good media rights deal is and what it's not. And really, to get specific about it, whether a deal with Amazon is tier one is viable or not, or whether TV is the right way to go. So when you have Oregon and Washington, let's say, saying that they want TV, but the Arizona schools, just as an example, as the Arizona schools or Stanford or just another school thinks that streaming would be better, that's a problem. And that's why I say, like, this statement's an issue for multiple reasons. I mean, first off, financially, you're saying, hey, we're fine. We're going to get a deal done. Second off, you're saying, hey, we're going to get a deal done and everyone's unified and everything's great. We had a round table and it's all awesome, which I don't personally believe. I don't believe, a week later from our reporting that somehow now Phil Knight and his Nike money all of a sudden are okay with Amazon and streaming. I don't believe that. I don't think that that's realistic. And I'm the guy who says, hey, in business, realistic is like the worst word you can use. Like, you want to be unrealistic. You want to be as big as you can be. You want to shoot for the stars. But in this case, when you're talking about, as you said, pennies on the dollar, realistic is the ballpark you have to play in. And
but so, what really stands out to you about, and I'm going to put this statement back on the board for you. What really stands out about this for me is this last sentence here where it says, as a conference and united, we remain highly confident in our future growth and success as a conference and united in our commitment to one another.
Right.
Because I'll just go back to, hey, we're just the hacks on YouTube, right? We don't have sources. Not at all. When we 6 weeks ago, reported that there was heavy division in the conference. I'll just go back to what The Athletic reported last week.
Yeah.
Which is 3 people with knowledge of the discussion said Commissioner George Kliavkoff is struggling to find partners willing to pay close to what the league is seeking. 2 of those sources said Kliavkoff overpromised his members on how many bidders there would be and what dollar amount they would command, a target north of $40 million per school. And again, why is that number significant? Because Bill Riley at ESPN was touting, hey, we're going to get $50 million a year per school.
Right.
Well, now we know where they got that information, and it was completely false, as we told you at the time.
Right.
Went on to say, today it is uncertain whether the Pac-12 will even be able to exceed the $31.6 million average the Big 12 reportedly landed in a 6-year extension with ESPN and Fox last fall. And you look at that reporting by The Athletic, which is exactly what we reported 6 weeks ago.
Right.
And we told you that Oregon, Washington, and the Arizona schools are not on board with a tier 1 streaming partner, which means all of your best games, basketball, football, all of it is streamed with Amazon, is essentially what they're not on board with. Man, I'm telling you, the Pac-12's in trouble. And again, for the record, I'll say what I've said from the beginning of this. Go all in on streaming. You're not going to lose that much in the short term, and I think you're going to gain in the long term. And I know that hey, you're going to have to get a majority of the people to assimilate quickly to watching everything on stream, but half of us watch everything on stream now.
Right.
If I'm the Pac-12, to be clear, I'm telling you to go all in with Amazon. They're a tech partner. They're good at what they do. They're going to support you. They are going to push your product. If the NFL is any indication, there are millions of viewers there. I'm telling you, if I'm the Pac-12, Jake, I go all in on it.
Yeah, and I think that, in these type of situations, you have to make a real definitive decision. You have to just take, put your foot in the ground and make that cut, as they say, right? Like, just take a direction and go with it and go all in on it. And what really stands out to me when you put up that athletic reporting versus the statement is just negativity versus positivity. Like, this statement from the Athletic clearly is saying there's division, they're struggling to get money, like things are not good, like we got problems. And then you go to the Pac-12 statement and it's like, oh, everything's fine, we're cool, we're committed to each other in our future and everything's fine, and we're in a sunflower field together. Like, you're not.
I'm sorry, did you say a sunflower?
I did. Yeah, they're holding hands walking through a sunflower field,
dodging the bumblebees.
That's right. So you see what I'm saying? Like, the difference is kind of crazy. It just really stands out.
It is incredible that everything that people in the know are reporting versus what the Pac-12 said today is completely opposite.
Yeah.
I don't know where you go. All right, let's get your comments in here. Enough of us, more of you. Tanner Plummer wants to know where Greg Hawkins is and his research institution talk.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, and I don't know this to be fact, it is very difficult to get good information on the research institution thing. We've asked just about everybody. Nobody has the real figures. Nobody knows penny for penny what each member of the conference gets.
Right.
And would those deals be terminated if those schools left the Pac-12? Now, frankly, having said that, if that was the case, what the athletic director, Mark Harlan, said at Utah, when he was talking about, hey, we're not leaving, when he was, here's his tweet where John Kurtz said the Pac-12 had a standalone game on Friday night and talked about how bad the numbers were. And Mark Harlan, you see there, the athletic director at Utah, tweeted back, we're not leaving. Well, hey, is that because if you leave the research funding's terminated? We haven't been told that.
Right.
We haven't heard that, and we've asked. Nobody seems to have a good grasp on that. But I'm going to guess that the presidents at these institutions know the answer to that. But I also would guess that Oregon and Washington would have no problem leaving because that money is going to be offset by TV money.
100%.
Utah can't say the same thing because Utah has, I think, absolutely labored through their time in the Pac-12 to become known, to become respected, to really get the respect that, damn it, I think they've taken, not earned. I think they have taken respect by being back-to-back conference champions. Now, it'd have been nice if you'd have won one of these Rose Bowls. You didn't.
Right.
But, hey, it's still an achievement to get there and one that deserves the football world's respect. But they're not going to get that because nobody's seeing them.
Yeah, and I think Utah doesn't do a great job marketing themselves. I mean, that for me is the
huge one.
That for me is the bigger deal. And I think that, when I look at the PAC versus the Big Ten, certainly, and obviously it goes without saying the SEC, I just don't think that there's enough revenue to go around this table, if you will, to put in, the amount of marketing dollars it takes to compete with the Big Ten and the SEC, which again, take us back to the top. You're going to struggle with recruiting. You're going to, it just is a vicious cycle, as we all know. So that's why I say, when we saw this come out an hour before the show, we were like, dude, we got to talk about this. Like this has to be a conversation piece. Add it to the scribe, if you will, of all the things the Pac-12 has said that seemingly just feel false and positive.
Well, like I said, we were going to start the show ripping Jackson Mahomes, the brother of Patrick Mahomes, who's kind of a weirdo these days.
Which we're still going to do.
We're going to find
we're
time.
just not starting.
He's a TikTok star.
Right.
But then they tweeted this.
Stuff.
Hey, there's Greg Hawkins, member of the show. He says, do you guys think the increased travel cost plus the alleged Big 12 rule that new members will only get 20 million affects possible defections? Now, that point blank, I was told is not the case. Gonzaga basketball is a very interesting example of this. Gonzaga basketball would be considered a full share member at whatever that is for basketball. They would be a full share member with no restriction. That's how much the Big 12 values Gonzaga. Now, juxtapose that to San Diego State. San Diego State's going to come in at a much lower number and have to earn their way.
Right. Which makes sense.
Which is why I think they haven't jumped in yet, which is why I think they haven't jumped to the Pac-12 yet. Even though I think if you're San Diego State, the Pac-12 is much less attractive because of their situation. But I think this revenue sharing, this tiered, revenue model, if you get Utah to leave the Pac-12, you can't tell me that the reigning two-time Pac-12 champion is going to take less money to come to the Big 12. We've already seen that movie in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And that did not work out. I do think, though, to Greg's point, that's one of the reasons people are hesitant to jump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole conversation's hinged on money. I know that's obvious, but quite literally the whole, every decision you make in the college landscape hinges on money. Okay, you want to fly Delta instead of United? Okay, what's it do to our bottom line? Hey, you want to schedule this instead of that? Okay, what does it do? Budgeting and money.
It's the WNBA not allowing charter flights.
Yes. It's same deal, dude. Same deal, man.
Yep. David Floyd, good afternoon, says, while I understand you guys are in Utah, but most Big 12 fans have had horrible experiences with the University of Utah fans, but BYU fans have been awesome. Ask me what day of the week it is, and it'll be a different answer. Utah fans are horrendous and tremendous. BYU fans are horrendous and tremendous. And to each other, it's terrible. It wears me out most of the time.
Yeah.
But if you're a Utah football fan, absolutely, I think Ute fans are more combative. There is no doubt about that. I think there was a time where BYU fans were far more defensive because they were an independent and they were, everybody looked down their nose at BYU. I don't think that's the case at all anymore. I think Utah fans now, with the demise of the Pac-12, feel beaten up. I think they feel beleaguered. I think right now they are a lot more weaponized, is the word that I would use. So I just don't know how anymore a Utah fan can live in this arrogant headspace that says the conference is tremendous, because it's not.
Are you talking about Utah, or are you talking about the whole conference itself? Because I'm not sure.
I don't disagree with you on that. And I think one of the most interesting parts of this, and again, this is just my opinion, but I think one of the most interesting parts of this is the conference continues to lie and spin instead of being very honest about its situation, even to its members. I think the UCLA situation exposed George Kliavkoff for the leader he is not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that arrogance, the back of the envelope calculation comment, his reliance on Wilner and Canzano to just chirp his message, and they do.
Well, and I think that part of it also, I'm not going to say it hurts Wilner and Canzano, but I'm just going to say what you're getting from Wilner and Canzano. Yeah. And I think that, it's like, hey, Wilner and Canzano are one of the most reliable sources of the narrative. Like, I know, like, I found this on Canzano's Twitter account. He had retweeted it 2 seconds after the Pac-12 official account tweeted it. So, like, I know I can go there, but I also know what I'm not getting, which is the reality of the situation. And so that's why I say, hey, if some fans are salty, great. Hey, whatever, dude. Like, it just is what it is. Like, you're always going to run into tough guy at a football game, so I don't think that's like unique to either of these two.
No, not at all. I think you're exactly right. All of our college football talk on the Monty Show is presented by our good friends at Barbecue Pit Stop, bbqpitstop.com, the best in the business. And when you hear Barbecue Pit Stop, no matter where you watch this show, bbqpitstop.com, they're the best equipment in the barbecue industry. That's not even in doubt, whether it's the brand new Ironwood XL, but it's the service, it's the people. Because again, Yoder, Big Green Egg, Traeger, absolutely. Flavor Knuckles, Asado Seasoning, the best do-it-all seasoning in the barbecue game, in my opinion. Flavor Knuckles, Asado Seasoning, they've got it. But what you're buying into at Barbecue Pit Stop, when you buy that Asado or you buy your Ironwood XL, you're buying into the people because they are tremendous. All of their people are awesome. I cannot tell you how many listeners said, I chatted them up online about making my wings for the Super Bowl. That's exactly what I'm talking about, because you can get online service or you can go to any of their 5 Utah locations: Logan, Layton, Lehigh, the GZ, St. George, and of course on State Street in Murray, right across from the mall. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. And again, you can always shop online at bbqpitstop.com. All right, let's run through your comments here because we do need to get to the Jazz. What's up? Jason says, y'all working overtime. We're trying out this afternoon thing.
We're trying it out. We're test piloting, test driving,
Because I do want to have a life and I do want to lift. And, hey, we're thinking about shifting our show full time from 3 to 6. Right now, we currently every day do 6 to 9 a.m., but we're seriously thinking about doing 3 to 6. And we would love your input on it. Do you guys like afternoons more than you like mornings? Like, where are you guys at on that?
Yeah.
Let's see. Greg Hawkins says, LOL, catching random strays from Super Soaker himself.
Oh, boy.
It's getting real in the comments. What's up? Ron McClure says, Utah fans are fine when they come to Frank Cush Field.
Okay.
I don't disagree with that. Lopes fan Gabe, my guy, what's up? He says, why does Tanner Plummer keep poking at Greg Hawkins about research institution stuff? You already brought it up in the IG chat, bro. Let it go. Because this is what BYU fan does. BYU fan, and you know what? I got to be honest with you. I think they've earned the right to do this. If I'm being truthful, I think Utah fan was such an a-hole to BYU fan and treated BYU fan so terribly.
Right.
Like, and with some, I don't know, justification.
Sure.
I mean, I believe that they've won the rivalry game 37 years in a row.
Right. Well, Utah fan would tell you that.
Or actually, it's 130. I don't believe BYU has ever won the rivalry football game. Not one time.
Right.
And I believe when Jimmer went to Utah, right? But that's what Utah fan does. They poke the bear. They constantly slap down little brother. They look down at their nose.
Right.
Oh, hey, TDS. How you guys doing down there?
Yeah.
Hope it's all good. You and the White Salamander.
We're
good to
in
see
the
ya.
Conference of Champions.
And we're in a Power 5 over here winning the Rose Bowl. We'll talk to you later. Like, that's how Utah fan is. So I understand now why BYU fan has their tail feather up a little bit. I understand why BYU fan, who's now in arguably the most forward-looking conference, because I think there's a chance that if we get to this super conference model, that the Big 12 has 30 teams in it. I could see a situation where what I've said for months is the best solution, which is the Pac-12 and the Big 12 merge. And when I say merge, the Big 12 absorbs all of those schools, and all of George Kliavkoff and his incompetent staff goes away.
Right.
And now we have this massive super conference that's going to suck up some other teams in the region as well.
Yeah.
25 to 30 teams. I could see that easily. That's the right thing to do, which means it probably won't happen.
Correct.
But my point is, BYU fan has earned the right to roll with the tail feather in the air and take some shots at Utah fan.
By the way, the Instagram chat for our membership program is amazing. Might want to think about joining.
You should hit the join button right now on your phones, folks, because it's been awesome. Let's see. Big Reed says from Utah to the PAC is fairly expensive anyway in travel. Not sure it is that much more expensive if the Four Corners go with them. I don't think it's an expense issue. Truly, I do not. I think we need to stop finding excuses why not to.
Right.
And my question becomes instantly, the what if Utah joins the Big 12? I think you're instantly competing for a national championship because there's not a program in the Big 12 that's better than Utah right now today.
Right.
I'm a huge believer in Kyle Whittingham. And I don't know what's going to happen with Andy Ludwig and Notre Dame. And hey, listen, it doesn't matter. I'm a huge believer in Kyle Whittingham. Utah is a national championship caliber football program. What if you join? What if you win the conference? What if that puts you into the college football playoff, which, by the way, is now expanded? So as a Utah fan, you can sit here and you can flap your lips together about how, the Big 12 and your mom, you can do that, and I totally get it. The Pac-12 is dead. And I think I could rightly make the argument, you no longer have a seat at the table for winning the Pac-12 championship. We saw that this year because the Utes won it again, and what did it get them?
Nothing.
If they beat USC in the only game that mattered this year, and what happened? USC was still ranked on top of Utah.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. You're in a conference that doesn't sustain your ability to play in the biggest game every year.
Yep.
Why do you not want that to change? That's what I don't understand.
Well, they're the
Utah
Conference
fan.
of Champions. There's pageantry. It's the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. Only it's not, right? Like they need to come around to this idea, and I just think they haven't yet.
I agree. C. Kaufman says, I kind of feel sorry for the Pac-12 for having such bad leadership. I don't. You changed it when you fired Larry Scott, and you hired this buffoon.
Yeah, you made your bet. It's time to land it, dude.
Absolutely.
100%.
Greg Hawkins says, no, I don't, but okay. Let's see. What did Tanner say? Now we're taking shots at each other.
Yeah, we're going back and forth here.
Tanner says, Gabe, I just think it's funny how Greg Hawkins thinks that research institutions solves everything. I don't think that's what he's saying.
I don't think that Greg thinks it solves everything. I think what Greg thinks is that it's an important factor. And it is, on some level, an important factor. I mean, my opinion has always been, though, that I think ultimately the revenue you get from your media rights deal powers the conference. It's just the reality of the situation. I mean, you can be a research institution of higher learning from planet Mars and have the best professors ever. They're not the one catching the touchdown to win the game that was on Fox that Budweiser sponsored.
And no 4-star recruit cares who your quantum physics professor is.
You know what I mean?
They don't care.
Yeah, so it's a factor, but it's not like the deciding thing.
Listen, if you want to be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever it is you want to be, hey, Utah's a place for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a national champion football player, especially a quarterback or a skill position offensively, is Utah the place for you?
No.
I don't know if it is. Saw Jaron Hall getting an awful lot of love at the Senior Bowl. Saw Puka Nacua getting an awful lot of love, right? Like you see BYU skill position players, Zachy Poo, for everything he's not in the NFL, number 2 in the NFL draft, right? Like you look at Taters.
Wonderful career.
Skill position player from BYU. You look at Fred Warner, you're losing your exclusivity, in my opinion, in the Pac-12. You're no longer the school if you want to go to the NFL in Utah. And that's directly related to your ability, in my opinion, to be seen and be respected, because BYU's on TV a hell of a lot more and in front of a hell of a lot more people than Utah is. And that's not new.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear about the church or because guys in Brazil, they watch the games now. Stop.
Yeah.
It's because they went independent, they scheduled up, and they got with ESPN.
Yeah.
By the way, there are weeks where we can't watch Utah football in this state. How's that possible? Think about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, couple more. Rob McClure says this is pure crazy speculation. Oh, is it? What's crazy and speculative about it?
Yeah.
Tyler P says this is such a tired conversation. Well, the Pac-12 needs to act.
Yeah. Well, no,
and
they
if you're
did
just tuning in, if you're just tuning in, why are we talking about this again? Because the Pac-12 put out whatever this is. I hesitate to call it a statement. Why did they put this out today? That's why we're talking about this. Why did the Pac-12 do this? I have no idea. It makes very little sense. And if somebody wants to explain this to me, please do.
Yeah, I think it's just out of pure desperation. I think that it's quite literally that meme we all see on the internet where the house is burning down and the dog is sipping on his coffee. Like, that's what this is, dude. Well, it accomplished them, I feel like for them on their side of the, conversation, like it accomplishes them feeling like they put out a statement that says the conference is unified and everything is fine and the house actually isn't burning down. That was just the stove boiling over. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I think they're trying to do. But for me, this is just another smokescreen. And yes, Tyler, we talk about it a lot, man. But the reason we're talking about it today is because they just put out a statement. Like, we have to talk about it. And
again, I just will say we were going to talk about Utah needing to get out of the Pac-12 today. And they need to get out of the Pac-12.
Yeah.
If that statement today that the Pac-12 issued, for God knows why, if that's any indicator, they need to get out.
Mm-hmm.
They need to get out. Now, I think they need to do it sooner than later. I could be wrong, and if you guys think I'm wrong, please do not hesitate to let me know that. I guess Monty won. I'm here, LOL. I guess.
Well, we didn't want you to leave. I'm just curious why you think it's crazy speculation, because this is what everyone's talking about.
Yeah. Brent Burnett says, outside of the state of Utah, nobody cares about the Utes or Cougars. Get the facts straight. Okay, so do you think it's just all Utahns that sold out Allegiant Stadium for BYU and Notre Dame? Did you see the BYU crowd there? Have you seen the games where do you think that's just all Utahns who traveled to the Rose Bowl? Did you see the Utah fans at the Rose Bowl? Like, what are you talking about? Again, I think because you don't know Utah football, you have no idea where the reach of the Utah football program and the Utah fan base is.
Yeah.
Saying that nobody outside of Utah cares about Utah or BYU is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Cam Harrison, what's up, dude? Says, time to retire those Pac-12 stickers.
Right.
Again, another BYU dig.
Yes.
Like the billboard, Pac-12 country.
Yes.
Like another BYU dig. Absolutely. Let's see. Matt Hartley. Washington and Oregon leaving for the Big Ten causes issues. Nobody leaves for the Big 12 to start unless a TV deal is in the teens. Could be. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the money needs to be to get somebody to leave. But do you want to be the school that's in the conference when the day they turn the lights out?
No.
I don't think you do.
And I think that this whole conversation for a school that's considering leaving, like, an Oregon or a Washington, it's not just about the now. It's about the future as well. I mean, again, it's not rocket science to project forward to say, yeah, we are going to have super conferences. Yeah, eventually there is going to be merging. There isn't going to be 5 P5s. That's just not what the future holds. And I think that this what's tired? What's tired is thinking that the PAC is going to survive. Because in my opinion, it's not. This is a slow bleed out. This is we're going to say everything and do everything we can. And it may take 5 years, but at some point we're going to have to turn the lights off. And I would guess, and again, the statement says they're going to reach a rights deal soon. I would guess when that rights deal is reached, the Pac-12 network goes away. Just a guess.
Yeah, I don't know. If you had a $30 million rights deal, would you have signed it already? Ooh, I have to think you would have. Ron McClure again. Running to the Big 12, why? 0 reasons. Well, let's see. Best basketball conference in the country. They got multiple spots in the college football playoff. I mean, just on those two alone. My opinion is, from what I've heard repeatedly, I think Gonzaga is very close to joining the Big 12. It's already the best basketball conference in the country. I think it's a better football conference than the Big 10. I don't know if it's as deep. I mean, Oklahoma State was a huge disappointment this year.
Right.
But you bring in Houston, BYU, Cincinnati. Who knows what Cincinnati is without Luke Fickell? But I think I can make an argument that it's the second best football conference, and there's no argument. It is the best basketball conference. You're making more money in the Big 12 than you would in the Pac-12. You have far more TV exposure. You have far more marketing, advertising, branding opportunities. Are you telling me at Utah that Under Armour wouldn't be happier to see you in the Big 12 than they would in the Pac-10? Come on,
dude.
That doesn't make sense. Are you telling me that America First Credit Union wouldn't rather be seen? Are you telling me that all of your corporate sponsors, your fan base, you're telling me that your fan base wouldn't be reinvigorated by joining the Big 12 and leaving the Pac-10? Come on. I think if you believe that, I think you're either blind to the reality of the finances of college football, or you're just being stubborn. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of stubborn Utah fans.
Yeah.
I truly do. CKS, have to agree on that. Utah wins the PAC back-to-back, but still second fiddle to Oregon, Washington, and SC.
Yep.
And it's all branding.
Yeah.
It's all branding.
It's not even what happens on the field.
And you've been saying this for how long?
Yeah.
Utah doesn't push themselves. Utah doesn't, again, outside, and I think they do a great job on social media. But look at the old days of BYU following the equipment truck to big games.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that matters. And then you have these great uniforms, and BYU's clearly has a better uniform deal than Utah does, right? But you have these great helmets. You have all this stuff. Oh, by the way, you're winning games.
Yeah.
You're back-to-back Pac-12 champions. Where are you? How is that being marketed? And it's not. We don't hear nearly enough about anything at Utah. Like the Pac-12 had this Best of the West gymnastics tournament.
Right.
It was affordable and it was sold out with other fans.
Yes.
It wasn't all Utah fans. I can think of that. I look at what BYU does in marketing. Now, again, BYU's got BYU TV. They've got BYU radio. Totally understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think they have more money, right? Are we really sitting here? Is Utah fan really going to sit here and concede that BYU has more money to work with than Utah?
I don't think the Eccles family is starting to count their nickels yet.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Come on
this isn't
now.
a money conversation. This is a philosophy conversation.
It is.
This is hey, and again, I feel like philosophy is the core issue that the Pac-12 faces. Like, I can sit here and tell them blue in the face and talk about streaming versus traditional TV or whatever, like mediums, but the reality of the situation still comes right back to philosophy, which is, hey, some people think streaming's the way. Obviously, we're on YouTube. We think streaming's the way. I agree. If I was the PAC, I'd go all in on Amazon and I'd be cutting edge and I'd be trying to be that brand with the position you're in. But hey, if Phil Knight doesn't want to do that, he's not going to sign a grant of rights. That's just the reality of the situation.
Yep. Nick Hines, who's a member of the program, says anyone who says that Pac-10 is fine is not taking an honest look at the situation.
Agreed.
I agree. McKinley Cutler's a member of the program, says I would love to have the Holy War back as a big event. Oh, man.
Another reason.
Come on now.
Another reason.
The money that you would make on that alone. Mike P., who's rocking the Colorado Avalanche Bigfoot.
There you go.
Says 0 reasons, ? Didn't have one of the Big 12's recent expansion teams, TCU, play for the Natty. Hello.
Now, they got their ass kicked, but they still showed up.
Who cares?
Still showed up.
Utah fan, do you want that opportunity? Because you're not getting that in the Pac-10. I got news for you. And if USC isn't getting that, and arguably they should have, if USC's not getting that, how on earth did Ohio State get into the college football playoff? How did the Big Ten get half of the college football playoff?
But isn't this the precise problem for the PAC? USC is now leaving, right? Yeah. You're a program in USC that's developing, that went to the college football playoff, that did all these great things, and then you lose to Tulane in disappointing fashion. And to me, it's like, cool, yeah, you lost in disappointing fashion, but at the same time, I really feel like USC had a nice first season under Lincoln. I really feel like they crushed it. And now it's like, okay, we're almost done. They have one more season in the PAC left, and then they head out. You're almost done with the PAC. You're going to get to the Big Ten. You're going to get that Big Ten after
coming
night.
Back.
Dude, you're in a great place. And that's why I say, Mark Harlan can sit here on his high horse or his big chair, whatever the hell you want to call it, and say they're not leaving. But if you're not leaving, you're making a mistake, and that's not going to change anytime soon.
I agree. Utah Jazz coming up here in about 15 minutes. We'll have some live analysis of the ball game.
Okay.
I don't know why I said it like that.
I don't know. Just have fun
but
with
I
it.
did. Russell Westbrook update coming up in 15 minutes. We'll start talking Jazz at the top of the hour. Stick around for that.
At 4 o'clock.
At 4 o'clock Pacific. That would be 5 o'clock.
5
Mountain
o'clock
time.
Mountain.
Brady Cook says, I feel like Utah is afraid they're going to lose their research money when they should think about winning a national championship. Listen, the research money is significant. I don't even argue that.
Yeah.
I don't believe you're losing all of that money leaving the Pac-12. I don't buy that. I've been told that that's not the case. And again, we'll keep asking that question. And I understand why people don't want to talk about it specifically, because I think also I've been told that the Pac-12 has told their membership not to talk about this, not to do interviews, and they haven't. And it's why when you get the athletic director going on local radio, nobody will ask him about it, which I think is a huge mistake. But we'll see, man.
Yeah.
I just Utah deserves better than this. Utah fans deserve better than this. And by the way, if you're a fan of Arizona or Arizona State, we're talking about you too. This is the exact same conversation because Arizona basketball should be in the Big 12. I'm telling you now that Arizona basketball, and for those of you who don't know, Arizona, a players program. What a dumb hashtag.
Excuse me, you almost got it right. It's program, players program.
Thank you, Coach. That's their hashtag, and it's ridiculous. But Arizona basketball, now that Sweaty Sean's gone and Fish is coaching the football team and things are moving up. To what, though? And are you ever going to be a significant player in the Pac-10?
No.
You're not. You're not. And Arizona State, I don't know what's going to happen to the football program over the next 3 seasons. We'll see. But this is pointed at you as well. Court McMullen, good afternoon. Court's a member of the show. Guys, the frame behind you is crooked and it's driving me nuts.
Oh, okay. Do we need to take it off the wall? Does it move?
Bro, it does not uncrooked.
They nailed that thing to the wall crooked.
It is crooked. It is crooked. It's not.
Dude, it's on there, bro.
It's on there.
Yeah, that's
dude.
not coming off, bro.
Yeah, and I noticed it earlier, and I tried. I mean, I don't know.
Sorry,
maybe
Court.
we could hang your dirty underwear off of it. So it
Yeah,
looks,
I mean, dude, like I can get a cover if you guys want or something, but
I know. See, Court, I don't disagree with you. It absolutely makes me crazy. Matt Hartley says TCU beat Michigan to go to the Natty. Big 12 is better than the Big 10. Which is massively overrated.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Agreed.
That is a one. I'm not a Jim Harbaugh guy on any level. I don't believe that Jim is a championship caliber coach, and I don't care. Put him in the NFL, put him at Michigan. It doesn't matter to me. I don't believe he's a guy that you hire to go win a championship. He's a guy you hire to be very good because he is. He's very good. But at Stanford, at the 49ers, and at Michigan, what does he do? He wears people down to the bone.
yeah.
He's just not a good guy to have around.
Grinds on you.
Yeah, he grinds on you. Exactly right. Sean Mierzinski, my guy, good afternoon. I think the statement was everything is fine. Let's all hold hands.
Yeah.
Kumbaya,
Yeah.
my Lord. Kumbaya. You guys want me to sing hymns now?
Yeah.
By the way, Football 50 in 3 minutes. We're talking about this right here. This is where we're all holding hands.
Right. Everything's fine. The house isn't burning down. It's cool.
What fire? There's no fire.
There's no fire here.
What? There's no fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it's remarkable that when you look at this, there is a nice, cool Tahoe breeze blowing through. When you look at this, it smacks of we're done. And we know we're done. And we all hate each other, but we're going to lie and say that it's like David Koresh is the one who wrote this. This is my cult. Here is my statement. Please don't burn my ranch down.
Yeah.
That's what this feels like.
And the problem is you should have put this statement out like 4 months ago or whenever Pac-12 Media Day was at this point. Was it 6 months ago now or whatever it's been? Like, this is when you should have said this. Like, you shouldn't have gone on some rant about how the Pac-12
are you going to let me make a joke about like a serial killer and not say anything? That was a David Koresh joke.
Yeah, you know what David Koresh and George Kliavkoff have in common? Yeah, you know what they have in common? They both hold people hostage and people end up dead in both situations. Thanks.
People will die.
Thanks for your services, George. Appreciate it, bro.
It's so true.
Dude.
It is so true. I just don't even know. I don't know what you do. If you are a fan of the Pac-12, I have no idea what you do now.
Wait.
Oh, damn. You know what just hit me? I'm going to need you to freestyle a rap in the background while I do football at 50.
Can't do it. Sorry.
What?
I can't do it. It's not my thing. It's not my thing.
We don't have the vibe and music.
Yeah, we don't have the music. Sorry, guys.